Hey everyone, it's Kelsey from Literary Gladiators, and I am here to do the Minimalist book tag that Josh tagged me in recently. So let's just get right into it. The first question is, the first prompt is to choose your favorite book of all time. So I picked East of Eden by John Steinbeck. I first read this book in my senior year of high school, and before that it had been recommended to me from a friend it's also his favorite book. And so it was very much hyped up for me, and I was like, well, I'm going to read it in class, so I'll just wait till then. And it was a combo of like how it was taught to me, the hype from my friend, and just the fact that it's an amazing piece of literature that truly made it my all-time favorite book. I had read Of Mice and Men and Grapes of Wrath before I read this one, and I loved those. And with this one on top of all that, he quickly became my favorite author of all time as well. Okay, so the next one is to choose a modern classic. So I chose The Perks of Being a Wallflower. This is the most recent quintessential coming of age story, I think. I think it's one of the most renowned of my time. And it's just like the movie adaptation of it was perfect. It's just a very moving, touching novel. It's honest. And my favorite thing about it is that you really get to watch Charlie grow, not only in his actions and experiences and finding out different things about himself, but through his writing. Because he's writing all these letters, you can watch his writing grow. So he starts out very 8th grade language and sentence structure, and then goes from there, and he just really does grow as a writer, and that just makes the book as a whole really just overall shows how coming of age can impact all parts of your life. So the next one is to choose a nonfiction book. I unfortunately don't have the nonfiction book with me. I checked for it at the library. It is still out, which I'm very happy about, but I picked The Full Spectrum, which is a collaboration with one author and David Levithan. It is a collection of stories from LGBTQ youth, and it's just a collection of very touching stories from everybody from different identities, and I just think it's a very important piece of literature. And now they are coming out with a second edition of it, and they're calling for submissions from people from 15 to 21, I think, somewhere in that age range. And it's just all nonfiction, personal stories from everybody on the spectrum, everybody in the community. And it's awesome, and I totally recommend anybody who identifies in that way to submit their writing, because, you could make it into the second edition. Okay, so the fourth question is to name a classic, and I picked my all-time favorite classic, which is Dante's Inferno. I am lucky enough to have an illustrated copy of it, and it's just, you can tell that it's an amazing piece of work because of all of the art that it inspired, and just the morbid concept of hell, and all of the stories of hell, and how the the wood of suicides and everything just absolutely blew me away when I read it for the first time. And I just, it's something that I haven't been able to quite escape the thought of, and I think that's why it's so important. So the next one is a graphic novel, and my graphic novel is very relevant because it was recently made into a musical, and that musical won a Tony. And yes, it is Fun Home by Alison Bechdel. I have the book right here. My friend and I were in a gay straight book club in high school, and I was supposed to read it for that, but I never did because I'm that type of person. And then for his 2-year graduation from a local community college, which I graduated with him, we went and we saw Fun Home with his grandmother, and it was, I cried. He cried way more than I cried. I cried only a little bit because I had makeup on, and I was like, we were all the way in New York, so I wasn't having that. But yeah, it definitely, it really did, it hit home with me. And so for my birthday, he got me the graphic novel so I could read it. And I did, and I just finished it last week, and it was just as good as the musical, and I love just being able to see like where all of those songs were inspired from, because like they're not directly in the novel, in the graphic novel, of course. So the next one is book by an author you cannot live without. And I have been doing a lot of YA and like more popular fiction, so I decided to go with two different ones, one YA, one adult fiction. So first one is Impulse by Ellen Hopkins. I wanted to choose Identical, but I actually don't own that one, so I chose Impulse because this was the first one I ever read, and it's absolutely amazing and perfect. Its buddy is also great. And I just love Ellen Hopkins, and she writes in verse, and it's just amazing, and she tackles all these very sensitive topics with such ease and such, with such beauty, and it's just, I love it. And it's a lot of topics that like other people in YA won't touch, and she's just like all about it, because she knows that those are, issues teens are facing, and it's a very real part of life. And the other one I chose for this one, for the book by an author you cannot live without, is Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. I absolutely love Gone Girl, I absolutely love Dark Places, but I think this might be my favorite just because it really takes a turn you're not expecting, and her books are really good at doing that. And I just think this one, short, quick read, definitely recommend it. Next is a series, and most people would name Harry Potter here, but my favorite series is actually my favorite YA dystopian series. It blows Hunger Games and Divergent right out of the water. And it is Delirium by Lauren Oliver. And they have the third one, which is Requiem. And it's set in a time very, very far from now because it's dystopian. And it is about like a world where love has been decided to be a disease. Like they have claimed that it is a disease, and on your 16th birthday, you get cured of it. You get matched with a partner, so like obviously the population keeps going. But, it's such an original concept because like the Hunger Games borrows heavily from Battle Royale, and the Divergent and the Hunger Games are kind of similar with like the faction system, and it's just really stands out from the rest of them. And the writing is beautiful, and I think the writing is the most beautiful out of all three of them, and there's some lines that just really hit home with you. My favorite thing about it is that in the beginning of each chapter they have an excerpt from the Delirium Nervosa manifesto. So the book about why love is a disease and everything in the history on it, you get a little history for each one, and I just think that's really cool. The next question is, or the next prompt is, a book no home is complete without. And this one kind of stumped me. I was like, well, I'm not really sure. I asked a few people. They obviously said the Bible, and I was like, yeah, I don't necessarily agree. And then it hit me. I was like, of course, the complete works of Shakespeare. No home is complete without all of Shakespeare's works. Like, he's absolutely renowned for both his sonnets and his plays. Everybody loves them. Well, not everybody. That's a bit of a stretch. But, they've inspired modern movies. Like 10 Things I Hate About You was inspired by Taming of the Shrew. And like all of these things. And it's just, no one can discredit Shakespeare for all he's done for the English language and literature and everything. So I think that, his complete works really complete a home. The next one is a book with a pretty cover you can't live without. I had a hard time with this one, and I was trying to do them all ones that I had in my personal library. So I ended up choosing my edition of the collected works of Allen Ginsberg. And I really like the cover because, it's him, obviously, but I really like the look of the book, the black and the white, and just like the orange going around it. And like, I think this is a very good picture of him, and I like that idea of like him like walking away and everything. I think it's really cool. And obviously it's Ginsberg, and I love Ginsberg. He's absolutely amazing. One of my all-time favorite poets, and that's all I gotta say. The next one, second to last, is a book on your to-be-read list. For a very long time, every time I walked into Barnes & Noble, I would pick this book up. It's called Middlesex, and I can't pronounce the guy's last name, Jeffrey Eugenides. You know, you can help me out in the comments down below. And it's about how Callie became Cal, basically. And I haven't read it yet, but I'm just very excited to see where it goes, because like the back summary is absolutely amazing. It draws you right in. And I wasn't buying it for a while because it was too expensive, but I ended up, I splurged and I just got it, and I'm very excited to read it. But I have a few things ahead of it on my list. And the last and final one, again, another book that I want to mention, but I don't have, so I'm going to mention too. It's a bonus question. It's a YA book, to pick a YA book, which I did multiple times, but I'm going to do it anyways. And the first one I want to mention was The Miseducation of Cameron Post. And I'm pretty sure it's by Emily Danford. And there's just something about it that really, really touched me. And I ended up crying while I was reading it. I'm not really sure why, but I read it for my Gay Straight Book Club, and I just absolutely loved it. And I always think of it, you know, it's one of those books, so I definitely recommend that. And another one that I definitely think, you know, deserves a little mention is Hero by Perry Moore. Now, this book is very unique, very cool. It's a underdog hero story, and the main character's gay, and he has superhero parents, so it's like Sky High turned like gay and all-inclusive, because another girl on his like team, on his squad or whatever, she has a colostomy bag. And I think it's so cool to see people in these like real life situations, like one's battling with being gay and one's battling with her diseases and everything, but they're still superheroes. I'm not a big YouTuber yet. So I'm just going to encourage any of our followers and, well, any of our subscribers and anybody who stumbles upon this video to do it and tag us in it so we can watch it. And, you know, until then, let me steal Josh's tagline, keep reading.